If you find yourself at Silverbrook Cemetery in Niles, Michigan, you might not even notice Lottie Wilson Jackson's gravesite. Her faded name etched in stone, a reminder of the century that's passed since her death, and a symbol of a legacy not widely chronicled in history lessons.
So much of women's history is unknown. Women have always done some incredible things. It hasn't always been documented.
Charlotte, her birth name, was born in 1854. She began shattering glass ceilings as a young, talented artist, the first black woman to attend the Chicago Art Institute at just 17 years old.
In order to really appreciate Lottie Wilson Jackson, we really have to put in context into the time period in which she lived. By the time she became an adult, at 17, slavery had just ended.
It would take several years, but her talent took the Niles native, where her childhood home still sits, and put her on a national stage.
She was prominent even in white circles as far as her art was concerned. She was an incredible artist by all accounts. And so she definitely used that notoriety.
Making headlines as an artist also catapulted Wilson Jackson into headlines as a civil rights activist, long before many of the giants in the movement were even born.
She was a delegate for several national associations. She was a delegate for the Colored Women Club Association. She was a delegate for the National American Women's Suffrage Association.
Balancing her activism and art meant traveling the country.
If there wasn't room, she was subjected to traveling in trains with cattle or traveling in trains with equipment. This really affected her because, again, thinking about the time period, this is now after slavery, but also after the Reconstruction era. So we're smack dab at the beginning of Jim Crow America.
Her experience led to asking for change at the 1899 National American Women's Suffrage Association convention, held inside St. Cecilia's in Grand Rapids. Her attendance and proposal was reenacted during the Greater Grand Rapids Women's History Council Suffrage Centennial.
I submit a resolution that colored women ought not be compelled to ride in smoking cars and that suitable accommodations should be provided for them.
There was lots of discussion about it, but the problem was that the National American Women's Suffrage Association, NASA, needed the support of Southern women. And Southern women, they absolutely refused to hear her resolution.
She didn't let that deter her, though, and went on to receive support from prominent minority organizations before reintroducing it. Then, a few years later, her most widely recognized accomplishment shattered another glass ceiling. Her replica of a painting depicting President Abraham Lincoln and Sojourner Truth was accepted as part of the White House collection, the first black artist to achieve such an honor.
She presented that portrait to President Roosevelt. She actually met the president. She went to the White House.
You can say her legacy is preserved in that portrait and at her final resting place, where she was buried in 1914, bookending 60 years of trailblazing across the country.
There are so many shoulders that we stand on that are unknown or very little known about them. And I think Lottie Wilson Jackson is one of those people.